Before the sun rises, the Stoic begins their day not with noise, but with stillness. The world may still be sleeping, but the mind is awake, alert, present, and grounded. In those first quiet moments of the morning, there is a deliberate choice: to meet the day with calm, to meet it with strength, and to meet it with purpose. This is not an accident, it is a practice, a discipline forged through countless mornings of intention. The Stoic knows that every day is a fresh opportunity to live with virtue, and that the way the day begins often determines how it unfolds. The modern world urges us to rush, to grab the phone, to dive headfirst into the endless stream of messages and news before we've even taken a breath. But the Stoic resists this pull. Instead, they rise and take a moment to remember the truth. Life is fleeting, and time is precious. They stand at the edge of another day, knowing they will never see this one again. This awareness is not meant to cause anxiety, but gratitude. It sharpens the senses, reminding us that each sunrise is a gift, each breath a chance to live better than we did yesterday. The morning begins with reflection. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, would remind himself, "Today you will meet people who are anxious, selfish, or misguided. But you must not be like them." This was his shield, his mental armor. By anticipating the challenges ahead, the Stoic is prepared for them and is not caught off guard when life tests them. In this way, the mind becomes a fortress before the day has even begun. There is also the practice of visualization, what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It is the act of briefly imagining possible difficulties, a delayed train, a harsh word from a colleague, a sudden change of plans, and deciding in advance to meet them with patience and composure. This is not pessimism, it is preparation. The Stoic understands that fortune is fickle, but character can remain steady. And then there is gratitude. Before stepping into the flow of the day, the Stoic pauses to name the things they are thankful for. The roof overhead, the warmth of the sun, the presence of loved ones, the opportunity to work, to serve, to learn. Gratitude keeps the mind from falling into the trap of entitlement. It turns the ordinary into something extraordinary. As the day unfolds, self-mastery becomes the guiding thread. The Stoic knows that discipline is not punishment, but freedom. Freedom from being ruled by impulses, fears, or desires. Discipline is what allows a person to act according to reason and virtue, even when emotions threaten to pull them in another direction. It is easy to react in anger when provoked, to complain when things don't go our way, or to procrastinate when a task feels uncomfortable. But self-mastery is the quiet refusal to be ruled by such urges. It is choosing action over excuses, focus over distraction, and purpose over comfort. The Stoics understood that emotions are natural, but they do not have to control us. Epictetus taught that we cannot control events, but we can control our responses. This is the heart of self-mastery, the ability to pause between stimulus and response, to insert reason where there might otherwise be reaction. When someone cuts you off in traffic, the untrained mind reacts instantly with anger. But the disciplined mind recognizes that anger serves no purpose here. The car is already ahead, the moment already passed. Why poison the rest of your day over something so fleeting? Self-mastery also means directing your attention deliberately. In a world full of noise, the Stoic guards their focus like a rare treasure. They decide what is worth engaging with and what should be left to fade away. Time is not to be squandered on petty arguments, gossip, or the endless scroll of distractions. Each hour is a coin you can spend only once. The Stoic asks, "Is this how I wish to spend my life?" As evening approaches, the day begins to fold back into stillness. This is the time for reflection, a practice that Marcus Aurelius and Seneca both held dear. Before rest, the Stoic reviews the day. Where did I live according to my principles? Where did I fall short? What can I do better tomorrow? This is not a session for self-condemnation, but for self-improvement. The goal is progress, not perfection. Evening reflection also carries the reminder of mortality, the memento mori. We do not know if we will see another dawn, and so the Stoic strives to end the day with nothing left unsaid, no unresolved quarrels, and a heart at peace. Sleep then becomes not an escape, but a surrender, a small rehearsal for the greater letting go that will one day come. Through these daily practices, a deeper transformation occurs. The Stoics' discipline becomes second nature. Their calm becomes unshakable. They no longer live at the mercy of moods or the chaos of the outside world, but in harmony with their own reason and virtue. This is self-mastery, the art of ruling oneself, the foundation for a life of freedom and meaning. And so, the Stoic walks through life with a quiet strength. They know the storms will come, but they have built their shelter within. They know that others will falter, but they will remain steady. And they know that each morning and each evening, they have the choice to live with purpose, to act with virtue, and to meet the world not as a victim of circumstance, but as a master of themselves. The discipline of the Stoic is not forged in great moments of glory, but in the small, unseen decisions made every single day. It is in the choice to rise on time instead of lingering in bed. It is in the refusal to speak when silence would be wiser. It is in the willingness to endure discomfort when it serves a higher purpose. These small acts, repeated daily, become the pillars of unshakable character. Seneca often reminded his students that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Many of our fears are shadows cast by the mind, growing larger because we choose to feed them. The Stoic practice of discipline is, in part, the refusal to feed these fears. Instead, the Stoic trains their mind to focus on what is real, what is present, and what is within their control. This deliberate redirection is not always easy, but with time it becomes a natural reflex. In the morning, the Stoic might begin with a brief meditation, not necessarily in the sense of sitting cross-legged in silence for hours, but in taking a few measured breaths to settle the mind. They might read a short passage from Epictetus or Marcus Aurelius, allowing the words to shape their perspective before the world has a chance to pull them in all directions. These readings act like mental anchors, keeping the mind steady in the currents of the day. Then comes the conscious alignment of actions with values. The Stoic asks, "What do I want to stand for today? What virtues will guide my steps?" For Marcus Aurelius, the answers were clear: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Wisdom to see the world as it is, justice to act fairly toward others, courage to face difficulties without fear, and temperance to maintain balance in all things. These virtues are not lofty ideals to be admired from a distance. They are tools to be used in the workshop of daily life. Throughout the day, self-mastery is tested in countless small ways. The tone of an email could provoke irritation. A piece of bad news could trigger despair. A tempting distraction could derail hours of meaningful work. The Stoic's discipline is the shield against these assaults. It allows one to pause, assess, and choose the best course of action instead of reacting blindly. When tempted by anger, the Stoic recalls the teaching that another's mistake does not need to become our own. When tempted by indulgence, they remember that true pleasure comes from moderation. When tempted to abandon a task, they recall that each step taken in discipline is a step toward freedom. This is where the power of repetition comes in. The Stoic understands that habits shape destiny. The repeated choice to act with virtue, even in the smallest moments, creates a life that cannot be shaken by external events. And because the Stoic practices this every day, the gap between intention and action grows smaller until they move as one. As evening falls, the daily review becomes the closing bookend to the day. This is not a mechanical checklist, but an honest conversation with oneself. Where did I succeed today? Where did I fail? How can I improve tomorrow? Seneca himself would perform this nightly reflection, saying, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said." This quiet accounting keeps the Stoics' progress visible and their conscience clear. The evening is also a time for humility. No matter how disciplined one may be, there will always be moments of weakness, mistakes made, and opportunities missed. The Stoic accepts this without self-pity, understanding that imperfection is the nature of humanity. What matters is the commitment to rise again tomorrow and try once more. In this way, daily Stoic practices are not simply routines. They are a way of being. They shape the mind to remain calm in chaos, the heart to remain open in conflict, and the will to remain steady in hardship. Over time, this discipline transforms the individual into someone who does not merely endure life's challenges, but thrives in spite of them. Self-mastery, then, is not about controlling the outside world. That is impossible. It is about mastering the inner world, where thoughts, emotions, and desires are shaped. The Stoic knows that when the inner world is in order, the outer world's storms lose their power. The Stoic path to advanced discipline begins with mastering the mind's impulses before they master you. At first, this is an exercise in awareness, catching yourself in the moment before you react. Most people drift through life on autopilot, pulled by desires, fears, and habits without realizing it. The Stoic refuses to live that way. Every reaction, every choice becomes an opportunity to test their mastery. If irritation rises, they notice it immediately and ask, "Why am I giving this power over me?" If a craving appears, they pause to examine it, asking, "Will this bring lasting benefit or just momentary relief?" This constant questioning sharpens self-control until it becomes second nature. One of the most effective advanced practices is the deliberate use of voluntary discomfort. Seneca recommended it often. Sleeping on a hard surface for a few nights, wearing simple clothing, eating plain food, or walking without a coat in the cold. These acts are not about punishment, they are training for the soul. By experiencing small hardships voluntarily, the Stoic learns to detach happiness from comfort. When true hardship arrives uninvited, they are ready. They have already rehearsed the art of enduring without complaint. Another core technique is negative visualization, a practice that might seem morbid to the uninitiated. The Stoic imagines the loss of what they cherish: health, possessions, relationships, even life itself. This is not to induce sadness, but gratitude. When you picture the absence of something, its presence becomes more vivid, more precious. This mental rehearsal also makes loss less devastating if it ever comes. The Stoic does not pretend that tragedy cannot strike. They prepare their heart so that when it does, they can face it with dignity. Self-mastery also means mastery over time. A Stoic treats each hour as a treasure that cannot be reclaimed once spent. This is why they are cautious about commitments, discerning about entertainment, and intentional with work. Wasting time is, to the Stoic, a form of self-betrayal. Every hour squandered is an hour stolen from the pursuit of virtue and excellence. To live well is to guard time as fiercely as one guards life. In daily practice, this means setting clear priorities and holding to them. If the day is claimed by trivial obligations, the Stoic politely but firmly says no. They understand that every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that truly matters. This discipline in scheduling is not about rigidity, it is about freedom. When the most important things are done first, there is space for rest, leisure, and joy without guilt. The Stoic also cultivates mental clarity by limiting unnecessary input. Just as one would avoid feeding the body with junk food, the Stoic avoids feeding the mind with mental clutter. This may mean stepping away from endless news cycles, gossip, or social media noise. In its place, they fill their mind with meaningful ideas, philosophical writings, and conversations that inspire growth. What we consume shapes what we think. What we think shapes how we act, and how we act shapes who we become. Even the Stoic speech is disciplined. Words are chosen carefully, not wasted on idle complaints or shallow flattery. They avoid exaggeration and speak only what they believe to be true. They listen more than they speak, for listening is the soil in which wisdom grows. And when they do speak, it is with the aim of clarity, kindness, or necessity. Never simply to fill silence. A deeper layer of discipline involves aligning actions with principles even under pressure. It is easy to live by virtue when life is smooth, but the Stoic is tested in moments of heat, when insulted, when treated unfairly, when tempted by power or reward. In these moments, the Stoic asks, will this choice honor my values or betray them? And then, regardless of cost, they choose the path of integrity. This is the truest measure of self-mastery. When principles are kept, not because they are easy, but because they are right. In the evening, the Stoic returns once more to reflection. They review not only what they did, but how they did it. Did they act with courage when fear whispered to stay silent? Did they show temperance when greed urged them to take more? Did they choose justice even when injustice would have been easier? This honest accounting is done without harsh self-condemnation, but with the intent to correct course. Mistakes are not failures unless they are repeated without effort to change. Over time, these advanced practices become part of the Stoics' nature. The discipline to master impulses, endure discomfort, visualize loss, guard time, control input, choose words wisely, and stand firm under pressure. All of these combine to create a person who cannot be easily swayed by fortune or misfortune. Their mind is steady, their heart is strong, and their actions are guided by reason rather than whim. In living this way, the Stoic discovers that discipline is not a cage, but a key. It frees them from the tyranny of passing emotions, the pull of shallow pleasures, and the fear of what the future may hold. Self-mastery is, in the end, self-liberation. And this freedom is the highest reward a human being can claim. The Stoic also recognizes that self-mastery is a lifelong journey, not a single moment of triumph. Even Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome and one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, began his meditations with reminders to himself, not declarations of perfection. He knew that each morning brought fresh opportunities and fresh challenges to live according to virtue. This is why Stoic discipline is structured like a craft. It demands consistent practice, refinement, and reflection. A powerful aspect of advanced Stoic practice is the deliberate shaping of one's inner dialogue. Our internal monologue, the constant voice that narrates our thoughts, can either empower us or enslave us. The untrained mind fills this space with worry, self-doubt, and craving. The disciplined Stoic trains this voice to be a source of reason, encouragement, and perspective. When the mind begins to spiral into anxiety, they calmly ask, "What is within my control right now?" When they feel the sting of failure, they remind themselves, "Every mistake is a lesson, and I am stronger for having faced it." This constant dialogue shapes how reality is experienced. Another key is the Stoic relationship to desire. Most people live under the illusion that happiness comes from gaining what they want. But the Stoic understands that desire itself can be a chain. The more you want, the more you fear losing, and the more control the outside world has over your state of mind. To counter this, Stoics practice voluntary simplicity, not as an ascetic rejection of life's pleasures, but as a conscious redefinition of what is truly necessary. They learn to take joy in what is already present, finding satisfaction in small, simple things. The warmth of the sun, the taste of clean water, the conversation of a friend. The Stoic also places great emphasis on emotional endurance. Life will bring grief, betrayal, injustice, and pain. This is not something to fear, but something to prepare for. Epictetus taught that when you kiss your child or loved one, you should remember that they are mortal, so that if fate takes them, you will not be shattered beyond repair. This is not cold detachment, but a deeper form of love, one that appreciates the temporary gift without clinging to the illusion of permanence. Through this mindset, the Stoic remains tender in feeling, yet unbreakable in spirit. Discipline also shows in the Stoic's way of responding to provocation. The undisciplined person reacts instantly, allowing anger or insult to pull them into conflict. The Stoic pauses, giving reason time to intervene before emotion takes the lead. They ask, "Is this worth my peace? Will my reaction improve the situation or worsen it?" Most insults are like stones thrown into a vast river. They cause ripples for a moment, then sink without lasting effect. To give them more weight than they deserve is to hand over control of your mind to the one who provoked you. An advanced Stoic practice is to reframe obstacles as opportunities. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is not just poetic philosophy, it is a practical method for turning setbacks into growth. A delayed journey becomes time to study. A rejection becomes motivation to improve. A loss becomes a lesson in detachment and resilience. This reframing turns life into a continual workshop for virtue, where even hardship is raw material for the soul's refinement. In cultivating such discipline, the Stoic inevitably develops a sense of inner sovereignty. External events may shake the body or alter circumstances, but they cannot dictate the state of the mind unless given permission. This sovereignty is not arrogance, but a humble acknowledgement of the only true domain a human being can fully govern, their own thoughts, choices, and actions. Daily and nightly, the Stoic reinforces this sovereignty through ritual. In the morning, they anchor themselves with purpose. In the evening, they reflect on the day's deeds. In between, they live by a code, seek virtue, act justly, speak truthfully, endure bravely, and govern desires wisely. Over months and years, this consistency transforms the mind until discipline no longer feels like effort. It becomes simply the way of being. The world outside often measures success by wealth, fame, or status. The Stoic measures it by mastery over the self. You can own vast estates and command armies, but if you are ruled by anger, fear, or greed, you are a slave to your passions. Conversely, you can have little and still live as a king within your own mind, free from the tyranny of ungoverned impulses. This is the true power the Stoics speak of. Not power over others, but over the only kingdom that truly matters, yourself. In the advanced stages of Stoic discipline, life becomes simpler yet richer. The constant noise of petty concerns fades, replaced by the steady hum of purposeful living. Each action, no matter how small, becomes a chance to embody virtue. Each challenge becomes a chance to test and strengthen the mind. And each day ends not in regret or restless desire, but in the quiet satisfaction of having lived with intention. The Stoic way is not about suppressing emotions or pretending to be unaffected by life's events. That would be a misunderstanding. Instead, it is about seeing emotions for what they are. Natural impulses, but not masters of our reason. The disciplined Stoic can feel sadness without drowning in despair, anger without succumbing to rage, and joy without clinging in fear of its passing. This balanced emotional state comes from the constant practice of observing one's own mind, questioning automatic reactions, and replacing them with deliberate responses rooted in virtue. Central to this mastery is the concept of the view from above. Imagine rising above the earth, higher and higher, until cities shrink into dots. Mountains become mere wrinkles on the surface, and the entire human drama seems like ripples in a vast ocean. From this perspective, the petty grievances and anxieties that once consumed you now appear small, almost absurd. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to take this cosmic view, to remember that he was but a small part of a vast and ancient whole. When seen from above, the insults, delays, and inconveniences of life dissolve into the background noise of existence, freeing the mind from needless agitation. Another advanced Stoic habit is practicing negative visualization. At first, it may seem strange to imagine losing the very things you cherish: your health, your home, your relationships. But the Stoics saw this as a way to sharpen appreciation for the present and prepare the mind for life's inevitable changes. By confronting the possibility of loss in thought, you reduce its power to devastate you in reality. You also discover a deeper gratitude for what you have now, in this very moment. Epictetus advised, "When you kiss your child, say to yourself, 'Tomorrow they may die.'" This was not meant to diminish love, but to make every moment more precious, every interaction more sincere. Discipline also extends to how the Stoic consumes information and engages with the world. In an age flooded with distraction, gossip, and outrage, it is easy to lose clarity of thought. The Stoic carefully guards the gates of their mind, choosing to feed it with truth, wisdom, and perspective rather than noise. Seneca warned against scattering one's attention too widely, comparing it to pouring water into too many cups until none are full. The disciplined mind is selective, deliberate, and focused because it understands that the quality of one's thoughts determines the quality of one's life. Self-mastery is reinforced through the deliberate choice of words. A Stoic speaks carefully, avoiding unnecessary complaints, exaggerations, or hurtful remarks. They know that words can heal or wound, build trust or destroy it. And since speech often reflects the inner state of the mind, they treat language as a mirror, refining it until it reflects calm, clarity, and truth. Even silence, in the Stoic view, can be more powerful than speech when it preserves peace or prevents the escalation of conflict. The disciplined Stoic is also prepared for the inevitability of change. Change is the one constant in life, and resisting it is a sure path to frustration. Rather than clinging to what was or fearing what will be, the Stoic accepts the flow of events as part of nature's order. This does not mean passively allowing injustice or harm. The Stoic still acts to improve the world where possible, but it does mean refusing to be broken by the shifting tides of fortune. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The universe is change, our life is what our thoughts make it." In pursuing self-mastery, the Stoic embraces voluntary hardship as training. This might mean fasting for a day, sleeping on the floor, or walking in the cold without complaint. Such exercises build resilience, teaching the body and mind to endure discomfort without fear or resentment. When real hardship arrives, as it inevitably will, the Stoic has already built the mental muscle to face it with composure. Seneca advised practicing poverty once in a while, wearing rough clothes and eating simple food, so that one can ask, "Is this what I feared?" This training dissolves the illusion that comfort is necessary for happiness. Perhaps the deepest aspect of Stoic discipline is aligning one's will with the will of nature. This means accepting that some things are beyond our control, and that resisting them is as futile as resisting the rising of the sun. By focusing only on what is within our power, our thoughts, our actions, our choices, we free ourselves from the exhausting battle against reality. This acceptance is not resignation, but liberation, allowing us to act more effectively in the areas where we can make a difference. Evening reflections play a vital role in this cycle of discipline. As the day ends, the Stoic reviews their actions without self-deception or unnecessary harshness. They ask, "Did I act in line with my principles? Did I waste energy on things outside my control? Did I treat others with fairness and respect?" Mistakes are acknowledged, lessons extracted, and intentions set for the next day. Over time, this nightly audit strengthens the mind's alignment with virtue, making disciplined action more natural and instinctive. The advanced Stoic also learns to embrace the inevitability of mortality. Far from being a morbid obsession, the contemplation of death, memento mori, is a powerful motivator to live fully and wisely. When you truly understand that each day could be your last, you stop postponing the life you mean to live. You stop wasting time on grudges, trivial arguments, and meaningless pursuits. You prioritize what matters: kindness, purpose, and the cultivation of inner peace. Death, in this light, becomes not an enemy, but a reminder to live deeply. In this way, daily Stoic practices and unwavering self-discipline become more than habits. They become a way of seeing, a way of living, a way of being. Through them, the Stoic transforms life from a series of random events into a deliberate journey toward wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. This transformation is the essence of true freedom, the freedom to remain unshaken no matter what storms may come. A key truth in Stoicism is that self-mastery is never a one-time achievement. It is a continual process. You do not arrive at perfect discipline any more than you arrive at perfect health. Just as the body must be nourished and exercised daily, so too must the mind be tended and strengthened. The Stoic accepts this reality with patience and persistence, understanding that each day is both a test and an opportunity. There will be moments of weakness, just as there will be moments of triumph, but neither defines you entirely. What matters is the choice to begin again, to return to the path of virtue, no matter how many times you've stepped off it. The disciplined life is also a generous life. Self-mastery is not hoarded for personal gain alone. It naturally radiates outward. A Stoic who has learned to govern their own mind becomes a steady presence for others in times of chaos. Their calm becomes a refuge, their measured words a source of clarity. This influence is subtle yet profound, shaping the emotional climate of families, communities, and workplaces. The disciplined Stoic does not impose their philosophy on others with arrogance. Instead, they embody it so convincingly that others are inspired to follow. This quiet leadership is deeply rooted in humility. The Stoic knows they are not above error, nor immune to the flaws that plague all humans. They remain students of life, ready to learn from every situation and from every person, even those they might initially disagree with. This openness to learning prevents the stagnation of pride and keeps the mind adaptable. As Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Humility keeps the door to growth forever open. An often overlooked dimension of Stoic discipline is the cultivation of joy. While Stoicism has a reputation for being austere, the truth is that it celebrates a deep, enduring form of happiness, one not dependent on fleeting pleasures or external validation. This joy springs from living in harmony with one's values, from contributing to the common good, and from appreciating life as it is, without the endless craving for more. It is a quiet, unshakable contentment that cannot be stolen by fortune's changes. The disciplined Stoic smiles not because everything is perfect, but because they have learned to see the perfection in everything. Daily practices are the scaffolding for this way of life. In the morning, the Stoic sets intentions with clarity, to act with justice, to respond with patience, to remain mindful of what is within their control. They might visualize the day ahead, anticipating challenges and preparing themselves to meet them with calm resolve. They greet the morning as an opportunity, not a burden, to exercise virtue in the real, unpredictable world. Throughout the day, they maintain awareness of their inner state, checking their thoughts before they turn into words or actions. When anger arises, they pause. When fear whispers, they question it. When temptation pulls, they recall the greater purpose they serve. These micro-decisions, repeated over hours and days, form the invisible architecture of a disciplined life. At night, the Stoic looks back without self-pity or self-deception. The review is honest but compassionate, acknowledging where they fell short while celebrating where they succeeded. This balanced self-assessment fuels growth without the paralyzing weight of guilt or shame. Each evening reflection is like a craftsman inspecting their work, noting where to refine, where to reinforce, and where to take pride in a job well done. Over time, these daily rhythms, morning preparation, mindful action, evening reflection, weave together into a strong, resilient fabric of character. And just as a fabric grows stronger with each thread, so too does the Stoic's mind grow unshakable with each small act of discipline. But even the most disciplined Stoic is not immune to life's storms. Illness, loss, betrayal, and failure will still come, as they come for everyone. The difference is that the Stoic meets them prepared, not because they have avoided pain, but because they have trained to endure it without losing their peace. They understand that while the world outside may be chaotic, the world inside can remain calm, a fortress no misfortune can breach. This is the ultimate gift of Stoic self-mastery, the freedom to choose your response in every situation. No tyrant, no insult, no twist of fate can strip you of this freedom unless you surrender it willingly. And when you guard this inner liberty, you find that you are never truly powerless. Even in the most restrictive circumstances, you remain free to live with dignity, to act with justice, and to maintain the serenity of a mind aligned with truth. So tomorrow morning, when you rise, do so with intention. Set your mind as a captain sets the course of a ship, aware of the winds and tides, but not ruled by them. Live the day as a Stoic, disciplined yet compassionate, firm yet flexible, mindful of your mortality, yet filled with gratitude for the moment you have now. And when night comes, let your reflections be a lantern, lighting the way for the next day's journey. In the end, the Stoic path is not about perfection, it is about persistence. It is about the daily choice to return to virtue, no matter how many times you've been pulled away. It is about the quiet courage to live deliberately, to govern yourself before you seek to govern anything else, and to find peace not in the absence of challenges, but in your mastery over them. Walk this path with patience, humility, and resolve, and you will discover what the Stoics have known for centuries, that the disciplined mind is the foundation of a truly free life. There is another layer to daily Stoic practice that is often overlooked: the intentional cultivation of silence. In a world overflowing with noise, both literal and mental, the Stoic understands that silence is not emptiness, but a space for clarity. It is in moments of stillness that the mind can observe itself without interference, just as a calm pond reflects the sky without distortion. This silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the quieting of restless thoughts, the suspension of reactive impulses, the choice to be fully present without rushing to fill the air with words. Seneca advised that we retreat into ourselves often, not as an escape from life, but as a means of returning to it with renewed strength and perspective. In these retreats, whether they last for 5 minutes or an entire hour, we strip away the trivial and focus on the essential. We recall the fragility of life and the brevity of our time. We realign our values with our actions. This practice alone can transform the quality of our days, making us less hurried, less anxious, and more attuned to what truly matters. From silence emerges another critical aspect of Stoic discipline: measured speech. Words have power, and the disciplined Stoic treats them as such. They do not waste them on idle gossip or harmful speculation. They do not speak to wound, even when wounded themselves. Instead, their speech is deliberate, purposeful, and anchored in truth. They understand that words, once released, cannot be recalled, and therefore choose them with care. In doing so, they create trust and stability in their relationships, as others come to know that their words can be relied upon. Another essential but often underestimated Stoic habit is the deliberate exposure to discomfort. The Stoics did not seek hardship for its own sake, but they recognized its value as a training ground for the mind. They might choose to fast for a day, sleep on a harder surface, or take a cold walk in the early morning, not to punish themselves, but to remind themselves of what they can endure. These voluntary hardships strip away dependency on comfort and sharpen the capacity to adapt. When genuine adversity arrives, the Stoic has already rehearsed the mental posture needed to face it with grace. This mindset also transforms how the Stoic views possessions and wealth. To them, ownership is temporary and external. It can be taken away at any moment. True wealth lies in virtues and abilities, not in things. As Marcus Aurelius reflected, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The disciplined Stoic finds joy in simplicity, choosing not to chain their happiness to the fragile promises of material gain. As we extend our view beyond the individual, Stoicism also teaches that self-mastery is a service to humanity. The calmer, wiser, more disciplined we are, the more stability we bring to the collective. In times of social unrest, a Stoic can be a stabilizing force, offering reason when panic spreads, offering cooperation when division grows. The ripples of one disciplined life can travel far beyond its own circle, and in this service, gratitude plays a central role. Gratitude is not just a passing feeling for the Stoic, it is a deliberate lens through which they interpret the world. Each morning's breath, each moment of connection, each challenge that shapes their character is met with thankfulness. Gratitude shifts the mind from a posture of lack to one of abundance, reminding the Stoic that while they cannot control all circumstances, they can always choose how to see them. In the quiet of the evening, after the final reflection and the last light fades, the Stoic rests in the knowledge that they have lived deliberately. They have acted not as a leaf tossed by the wind, but as the sailor steering their course through rough waters. Tomorrow will come, bringing its own tests and opportunities, but the foundation remains, unshaken, disciplined, prepared. If there is one enduring truth in the daily life of a Stoic, it is this: the art of self-mastery is the art of freedom. To govern oneself is to remove the chains of impulse, fear, and dependence on the approval of others. It is to live by choice, not by chance. And it is to find peace, not in the world as it is imagined to be, but in the world exactly as it is.